All right, we're in episode 3. If you haven't already done it, I want to go ahead and get started really quick. I don't have a funny story or anything like
You got
that. This
nothing?
is nothing. No, here's why. Because I haven't sent the previous episode to Beth yet she's so encouraging. I haven't gotten
Oh,
that
I was going to say to get
commentary back.
criticized, but it's okay.
No, she
Encouraged.
never
Yeah, I'm messing with
criticizes.
you.
In
Yeah.
fact, it's like it's the opposite. And maybe I'll get into some of that in the next episode. Not this one. Today I want to talk about this word Photizo. That's even the title, Photizo.
Welcome to episode Photizo.
This is episode 3, Photizo.
Okay.
So we got the music playing and all that.
Absolutely.
I hope
Yes.
we put that in all in post, but it's just kind of sometimes you just feel better saying it just to make sure. Hey, I want to start off with 2 stories. They're not my stories. They're stories that everybody already knows. I want to point out something about them, and then I want to make some practical observations. Really, we're just kind of building on. If you listen to all of these in the rearview mirror, they make sense as standalones, but obviously you can tell that we're going somewhere with all of this. I've got this notebook right here in the studio. We're at Revocation Radio in the studios in Irondale. How much longer are we going to be here in Irondale?
A little bit longer.
I keep envisioning.
I think through November.
When I look at my calendar and I think, oh, I'm going to go see John tomorrow, I keep envisioning myself like riding over to Lakeshore.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wait, no, hold on. I'm going over to Irondale. This is a great space. But, I mean, I'll be taking, this notebook's got it's like a little moleskin. It's so, I mean, listen, you can hear that. It's like got so many notes. We've obviously got a trajectory of where we're headed on this. And
there's a lot to say.
Yeah, especially, this is kind of 2.0 version of the podcast. I still haven't named it, so.
And you keep dragging me into it. I'm just like, this is your thing. I'm just here to help.
Yeah, but I'm here in your studio, so I've got, people need to subscribe or watch. No, you don't watch. Yeah, you can watch.
Yeah, 3 days a week.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link down in the show notes. People can see you and then get behind what you guys are doing. And then I'm going to rope you into coming to DJing for the big run we're going to do in the spring for the Veteran Suicide Prevention. We don't even have a name for that yet. I was in a meeting yesterday about it. But
it's happening.
Yeah, right. It's going to happen. So the goal is to get a lot of people out there. We'll talk more about that later. We're going to talk about that project coming up soon. This is Photizo. 2 stories that you need to know to set it up, and then we'll get very practical with some takeaways. So in the previous episode, we were dialoguing about the children of Israel and that time they had in the wilderness, getting stuck in the wilderness, some of them staying in the wilderness. The relevant part of that is so many of us find ourselves walking in this, to use Beth's phrase, the land in between. And at some point, and here's where wisdom and prayer, there's no formula. Sometimes God has you in the land in between for a really long time, and it's on purpose. He's educating you. He's equipping you. He's empowering you. You're walking and experience His power, His provision, His presence. At some point, though, you've got to realize, and it requires wisdom and prayer and probably the interaction of close friends around you to know when is the time that I take that next step and move into the next season. And this episode's really going to build on that. So the one story that happened that caused the children of Israel to stay in their land in between, in their wilderness, which remember wasn't so bad. The one story that caused them to stay there, it occurs in Numbers chapter 13, whereas God originally planned the wilderness stay, the land in between, the liminal space for them to be probably this 50, 60-day time period. We know it had to be over 50 because the Passover to Pentecost, which was the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, originally, that was 50 days. So we know it was going to be that, and then they were going to go on in. But Moses sends 12 spies into the Promised Land to go scout it, survey it, and they go in and they're overwhelmed by 2 things. Number one, man, this place is awesome. The place God is leading us is better than advertised. That's what they thought. And really, listening, that's what you need to know. The place God is leading you is better than advertised. Paul says, Ephesians 3:19-20, He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you could ask, think, or imagine. Now, I can imagine a lot. I can think a lot. I can envision a lot. I can pray a lot. Paul says he's able to do beyond that. That's really what they walked into when they walked into that promised land, those 12 spies initially. Now, they were overwhelmed by a second element as well, and that was in their mind, there were giants in the land. And when they come back, I grew up in Sunday school in a church, a Southern Baptist church. I remember seeing these pictures in the Bible studies of these guys walking probably 6 to 8 feet apart with this pole between them, with these massive grapes attached to the pole. Like one's in front, one's in back, grapes stretched out across, like these huge basketball-sized grapes. Now, I don't know that it was basketball-sized grapes, but there was all of this bounty. You talk about all of this abundance that was there for them. The problem was they bring back evidence, it seems, but they seem like grasshoppers, their phrase, compared to the size of the giants that are in the land. We were as nothing compared to them, is what they said. And so they cry, they wail. There's a revolt that wants to leave the wilderness and go back to the past, to Egypt, even though Egypt doesn't even exist anymore, really, as it did previously, because the dynasty's kind of been crushed in the Red Sea. What would they even go back to? Remember when they left Egypt, they left with the bounty of Egypt, like they plundered the Egyptians. So they had all this wealth, even in the wilderness. So much wealth they could build a golden calf. And so what would they have even walked back to? That's the tension. It's better than God advertised. At the same time, it's going to be hard and it's going to require faith. And can we do that? Well, you know the story. Because of that, they are destined, those 10 of the spies, plus Joshua and Caleb. Joshua and Caleb are, okay, they're going to go into the promised land. The other 10 spies are going to die. The children of Israel, that entire generation, is going to die in the wilderness. And you think about the tragedy and the trauma that would be. How many deaths would that be with, what was it, about 4 million people, some estimates say? Yeah. So if you're going over 40 years, I mean, how many funerals is that a day? And all of this loss, all of this, we're not going to make it. We're just here wondering. It is a dead end, literally. In 40 years, the next generation goes in. Joshua, who is now leading, sends, this is what's interesting, he sends in 2 spies. It's like, I'm not even going to send the other 10.
There's no point in sending that many.
I'm not going to send the 10. I'm going to send 2 guys that I know will bring a good report. They go in, they scout the land, they hide at Rahab, we'll just call her Rahab the Helper's house. It's Rahab the harlot, red light district. Nobody's going to tattle on who's in and out of a whorehouse, really, because then you're kind of ratting yourself out. Correct?
Right.
And she makes this great declaration of faith to them in that story. So now we're in really story number 2 that's related to story number 1. She says, save me and my family. So I'll hang a scarlet rope, scarlet cord, scarlet handkerchief in the window. They lived in the walls, so these houses were built into the walls, kind of like, you see, like thick wall, not just little wall, like thick wall, like Great Wall of China type thick wall. And so when the children of Israel were coming, if they saw that red cord, which was kind of the symbol of red light district, so the thing that should have shamed her now becomes the signifier of grace. Which, by the way, footnote, if you read all throughout the Old Testament, in the sacrificial system, you will see a red cord on the sacrifices. So maybe,
full circle.
I mean, just a side note there. So she's dialoguing with them, and they say, deal, you save us and hide us, and as long as you put that red cord in the window, we will save you and your family when we come in. Here's what else Rahab said in that story. She said, we know the Lord has given you this land. In fact, we have, and this is almost a direct quote from the scripture. We have been melting in fear for the past 40 years because we heard of what happened at the Red Sea. We heard of the story of the Amalekites. Now, remember, that's the one where Joshua was fighting and Moses raised up his hands, and then Aaron and Hur had to raise his hands. We've heard of, you remember the sun stand still battle. You remember also the battle where the hailstones killed more of the enemy than the children of Israel's warriors killed. They had heard of all of those stories. And so these giants have, to quote them, have been melting in fear. All right, so put it all together, like tie it up. The children of Israel were afraid to walk in, cross the threshold, go into their destiny, to walk into that promise. The people who were there were afraid for them to come walk into their promise. In other words, it would have all worked out. And you see such a dilemma right there. And it's so often what we face when we refuse to embrace our destiny. And a lot of times that it simply just has to do with mindset, with how you see things, with the perspective. Like, do we see these things as God wants us to see them? And when we don't, a couple things occur. Number one is we see other people differently than we should. Okay, so we read who they are in light of something less than what we should read them in. We start reading even our own capacity as less than. And I think when all of this occurs as well, it impacts what's truly possible. Let's talk a little bit about all of that.
I feel like sense? It does. And at some point, we have to start expecting hurdles. You know they're coming. You know you're going to have to go through difficulties. Why hesitate? Why delay? Why wait?
Well, it's so much easier. It's so much easier when it's theory, when you're just talking about it until
you're there.
Yeah, because Jesus said, "Hey, in this world you will have trouble." I mean, like, it's a given. And I know that sounds really negative. What, in this world I'll have trouble? Yeah, I'm positive you will have trouble. But he goes on, I think this is John 16:33 maybe. He says, "Take heart, I've overcome." So it's kind of this tension. Okay, there's going to be obstacles, and we'll overcome. There are going to be obstacles, yes, so big they'll probably require faith. I mean, it's not even faith when it's just, I mean, I don't have faith whether that door's going to open or not. I mean, just go open the door. Like, that's just, or if my car's going to start, like, you just go start the car. Or it's like, that's not even a faith. That's not it's only faith when there's a question. It's based on evidence, right? And a history with God. But at the same time, it's like, trust. Okay, so I think when we don't see things through, now this is just going to be a secular, normal, everyday illustration here. In fact, the next two are, because like faith is just got to be lived among the real world. It's not this. I mean, when you get to heaven, you don't probably, I'm guessing, haven't been yet. You probably don't need faith. He goes, like, we're there.
You're in it.
Yeah. Maybe there's more layers there that I don't know. So when we don't see things through God's perspective, then we see others very differently than they actually are. Let me give you an illustration. There's this great book. The name of it is Sway, S-W-A-Y, Sway, The Irresistible Pull of Irrational Behavior. Now think about that title just for a second. It's about the idea that, like, you can think wrong and get pulled into doing something incorrect. So these brothers, Ori and Ram Brofman, they write about the effect of pre-existing beliefs and how they affect our ongoing belief patterns, even when we're confronted with new information that points to the contrary. So here's the setup. There's a visiting professor, this is in their book, who goes to guest teach at MIT. Massachusetts Institute for Technology. So, this is like Ivy League level stuff. This is
You've
not
got high expectations here
of these people. Yeah, this is not like we went to, no disrespect to the local community college. This is just an entirely different level altogether. So there is a visiting professor, economics professor. He's going to teach 70 students. All 70 students are sitting in the same lecture at the same time with the same professor to hear the same information. The only difference is this. They're all given the biography of the professor before he's going to teach. Half of them receive a biography that says something like this. Now, here's the only difference. This professor is a, quote, very warm person. That's what it says. The only change from that line is the other half, 35 other students, have that line changed to rather cold. Okay, same little biography. It's just when you're presenting the person on paper. This isn't even an announced welcome. Everybody is in there at the same time. This is not online. This is not, you got people around you. This is not a different time of day, so it's a different presentation. We are all at the same room at the same time. It's mixed throughout the room. This isn't like this side of the room got this and they had bad lighting. That side of the room got that and they didn't have the speaker or they couldn't hear. Sound system was wonky. It is all the same except for half of them have a biography that says very warm, half of them rather cold. Okay, so they sit through. They hear the lecture. And at the end of it, they all give their feedback. Here's where it gets really interesting. The half who received the, quote, very warm person bio wrote how great the teacher was. He was funny. He made them laugh. He told great stories. He made things applicable. He actually made economics exciting. That's the takeaway. The other side, this is where if you had music going, wah, wah, we won't cue that up, but they received the rather cold and said he was aloof, he was self-centered, he was rigid, inflexible, he was boring, formal, stiff, lifeless. And you think, whoa. They all sat through the exact same thing at the exact same time and received the exact same presentation.
It is the power of persuasion and preconceived notions.
It's exactly what it is.
That's insane.
They walked into it thinking that... No. Have you ever done that with a person?
Absolutely.
I have.
Absolutely.
And it clouds what you feel like you're going to receive.
And through those situations of life, I'm in my 40s, you're in your 50s. I feel like we both can probably say...
I'm in my low 50s. Okay. But yeah, it's still in the 50s. No,
right.
It's
well, you're
like,
there. You're there. But I feel like we both can say that I rarely listen to somebody's preconceived notion of a person until I meet them in this day, because I've been proven wrong. Or at least that person's been proven wrong so many times.
You go into something expecting something from someone, and it's like, I remember there's this great, let me see if I could say this. Okay. I remember one time Beth and I had a disagreement. That's my wife. Those of you who are listening, a lot of you know, some of you might not know. And I don't even remember what the disagreement was. It wasn't big. This is, so I was divorced years ago and then got married to her. And one of the surprises is how quickly you resolve things. Mm. It's not that conflict doesn't happen. It's just you're at a different place and how quickly, and probably a lot of that has to do with her emotional health and spiritual wholeness, more so than just me. Like both people are a factor in any relationship. If anything's going wonky, both people have a part to play in that at some level. And I remember once, but I don't remember what the conflict was, but I remember kind of freezing up. And I remember her looking at me and saying, like, she could just read it. She's like, wait, she said this phrase, "You're not in trouble."
You've heard, yeah, I think we've all heard that.
You're
not in trouble.
Yeah, she's like, no,
I'm not mad.
Yeah, she's like, no, it doesn't matter what it, because she could tell like the way that I had faced conflict before was
The defenses were up.
The defenses are up, and man, you might get frozen out, or there might be a rift, or this might be days of confusion rather than just a moment of seeking clarity. You're not in trouble. No, whatever it is, like, let's just talk through it, work through it. I mean, it was literally that quick. Not that there wasn't a conflict. It is so easy to read present situations in light of preconceived notions that you already had, just like those kids did. And when you do that, like the MIT students, man, it can radically affect how you interact with others around you.
And the unfortunate thing is they didn't get the goodness out of the presentation because what was already put into their minds.
I mean, everybody else was like fired up,
Yeah.
And they were floundering, even though the fired up message was there. I mean, you think about even in the New Testament, how many times people saw Jesus walk through their midst and they weren't healed. Like Mark even says he couldn't do a mighty work there. But yet it's not like he wasn't capable.
All because the Pharisees are griping and complaining and whining because they're not getting their attention.
And, how many times he said, hey, Jerusalem, I long to gather you under my protection and shelter, like a mother hen gathers her chicks, but you wouldn't. And when so often, and if you don't see others as God sees them, you don't get the benefit of the gift that they are. See it? All right, number 2. Here's the second of that is you see yourself differently, and you actually start re-gauging what's possible with you. After I read that book, I decided to kind of test that theory out, and so I was on vacation, and especially when the kids were really small, I would give them this challenge. I don't even know how we stumbled into it, but it was this one thing where we would go out to eat and they would always want to play the video games, like where you literally put in like quarters to play the video games. So that'll kind of date some of it.
Yeah.
And so, or they would want to go buy snacks. And so, hey, can I have $1 for whatever? And so I started just giving them random challenges, generally at the pool, for $1.
To earn their snacks, their
it was
later.
I mean, obviously we're going to buy dinner and provide anything they need, but it was like, I don't even know how we got into it. Yeah, well, okay, yeah, we'll do a challenge. Hey, can we earn $1 by doing this? Whatever. Okay, so yeah, and usually it was like, okay, jump off the high dive back when they had those, or do a flip, or go underwater and do 5 flips, or something like that. And so I was on a trip. We're at the pool that's in this neighborhood where we've rented this house, and the kids all ask, hey, what's the challenge for $1? And so I look at them and say, all right, I got one. And this was based on some of the behavior I had seen in the pool. I said, how about you swim from this side of the pool, sideways, not long ways, this side of the pool to that side of the pool, and back, there and back, underwater, like basically hold your breath and swim it. And it's I know somewhere out there there's one person that's going, oh my gosh, like that was...
You're trying to kill your kids.
The pool wasn't that big, and I was there and, would have could do the CPR, the whatever we needed. Okay, so, I mean, instantly the kids, who are usually very like, oh, chipper, yes, I'll go do that for $1. I mean, they would do whatever. They're like, we can't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that? Like all of them. We can't do that. And they start making all these excuses. They start saying something like, well, it's too long and we're too small and it's too, it's too wide, or there's people in the pool splashing, or just all these excuses. And so they just assumed it was impossible. I'm kind of looking around, kind of dumbstruck. I'm thinking, well, I guess I'm going to save, several dollars, but
which is not a terrible thing.
Yes, and then also, I'm kind of like, what in the world is going on? So their mom looks over. She goes, "This is probably a good time for a little pep talk or a little lesson." So I ran this little experiment about limiting beliefs and about what happens when you're looking at the wrong thing in your own life. Okay, so here's what I did. All right, kids, turn around, look around the pool. I want you to take 5 seconds while I count out loud, and I want you to count how many blue things you can find. Blue. All right, so I'm sitting there. I begin counting, backwards from 5, 4. They're looking for blue. 3, 2. And the whole time I'm doing this, they're all going like, "Oh, hey, the sky," and they're noticing like, "Oh, there's a tool shed over there. It's got like that little aqua blue like they do at the beach. Does that count?" Yeah, that counts. Someone insisted the water should count. We're all in the water. It's a shade of blue. Somebody else spots a toy, some floaties, all this a ball, a felt tennis ball that was colored, all this kind of stuff. After the 5 seconds, I stop, and then they're in the midst of bragging about all this. Well, I got 10, I got 7, I got 6, I got this, I got that. No, that doesn't count. That was mine first. I said it. You didn't really see it. So I said, okay, how many green things did you see? And so they keep posting their numbers about blue. Well, I got 6. I got this. I said it doesn't matter. I want to know how many green things you saw. Finally, one of them admitted, none. We didn't see any green. None? Look around. You've got the grass. You've got a few hundred trees. You've got all these bathing suits that are green. There's a few towels. We didn't see it, they said. Well, why not? Well, look around. They looked around again. They said, yeah, we didn't see that. We were looking for blue. We were only looking for blue. You said blue. So I explained the gig to them, and told them what happened and explained, you found blue only because that's what you were looking for, even if there was far more green to be seen. In the same way, you assumed you couldn't make it across the pool. You didn't even try. You just came in with that belief, and that's what you saw. It's far. I'm small. I can't make it. And so you told me you're small. It's far. You're not strong enough. You're too little. The pool's too big. And I reminded them again, you didn't even try. You just assumed it couldn't be done. And then you heard somebody else say it couldn't be done. And so it just kind of trickled down, like the stair steps from the oldest who was little to the youngest who was really little. After, it didn't take long, a few moments, one of them, it's like, I'm going to try it. Because now, they're,
it's like, I
mean, they're ready at this point, to take on the world. And so walked over, we're in the shallow. So he kind of walks through the water, right? Kind of gets over their side, lines up, and, first one, boom, does it, there and back. Next one, boom, does it, there and back. Next one, boom, and they're like, oh, that was easy. And then they're making it there and back and then starting to go back the other direction a little bit. It was all the power of this limiting, almost self-smalling, I don't know if that'd be the right word, belief system that sometimes we have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Now think about it. Proverbs, let's make it Bible. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinks, so is he. We referenced the verse earlier from Ephesians 3:19 through 20 that he's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask, think, or imagine because of the power of Christ that's at work in us. There's this great phrase, 1 Corinthians 2:16 says that you have the mind of Christ. That word mind, it's actually better translated as the imagination of Christ. You have this ability to envision more because you can see supernaturally in the same way that he could see it if he was, he is here. He's
present.
He's living in you. He's living through you is what the Bible says. Paul writes about grace being not just this agent that forgives, but also this grace is an agent that supernaturally empowers you to do something, to let's use the word perform, and let's use it in a great way, not perform for your identity, but to perform as an overflow of what's going on inside of you that's true. Ephesians 2:8-10 says, grace saves you. So by grace you're saved, not of works. So none of us can boast, oh, I did such a good job. Look at me, I'm so savable. Because no, it's grace that did it. And God did it because he planned before time began great works that you would walk in. That grace also empowers is what he's getting at. So there's something more on the other side for you to walk in. And sometimes it depends on us seeing it. We sometimes so often play so small. I know that I do. And many times it's easy just to get it safe. Make sure we can stick the landing. So we do a trick that we can stick instead of going for something more that grace would have to empower. In the beginning of the book of Ephesians, there's this phrase Paul also says. This is where kind of got the title of this episode of the podcast. He says, Ephesians 1:18, and it's a prayer. He prays that, quote, the eyes of your understanding would be enlightened. The eyes of your understanding would be Photizo. Man, that should be, don't you do like the verse of the day?
Mm-hmm, I do.
It should be like the verse of the day.
It's pretty good.
The eyes of your understanding would be Photizo. We derive our word photosynthesis from that. In the same way that plants draw energy and life from the sun, and that it makes things come alive, and then you see the beauty, you see the glory. I mean, like Scripture talks about all creation just declaring the glory of God. May the eyes of your understanding be Photizo. Paul suggests we pull life, energy, and enlightenment when the eyes of our understanding are open and when we see. And not just see like we physically see, but see at this supernatural level that sometimes it's hard to see. Sometimes it's hard to see that you could take the promised land no matter how overwhelming the bounty is when there are giants in the land. They needed the eyes of their understanding to be Photizo. And if their eyes of their understanding were Photizo, they probably could have taken the promised land 40 years earlier and with a lot less loss. It still would have been hard. There still would have been the obstacle you have to overcome. It doesn't mean it would be automatic, but they were punting off the experience of that promise by getting more anxious about the obstacle than the opportunity that was ahead of them. Sometimes we do that. We see the rather cold person bio when it's really a warm person. We see all kinds of blue all around us when there's really more green. Or we see the reasons we can't make it across the swimming pool when, man, we could have made it back and forth a few times. It wasn't too big and us too small. It was just we hadn't really even tried. And sometimes I get it. You need somebody to come by and believe in you and push you and encourage you and sometimes pull out the best that's inside of you. I think when you do see it differently, maybe this is kind of the third idea here. When you do see it, I think simultaneously two things start happening. Number one is you start more aggressively, in a gracious way, taking those steps forward. You start engaging with people at a higher level. You start believing in others. You start getting a different experience of what's happening in real time. And I think also, and I'm not sure how to say this, and I'm not sure how to file it because I'm theologically kind of working through it. I think also the hand of God starts moving closer to you, even though he's already close to you. So that's where it's like doors just seem to start opening. Even though he's never left you, it's almost like showing up. The children of Israel could have walked into that promised land at any time. They could have left that, to use the phrase from the previous episode, that liminal space, that middle space. Could have walked forward at any time. God's provision kicked in at a new level, even though it was there all the time. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
Sometimes some of this is just like so. I don't know. The more you dive into it, the more it's not just black or white. It's kind of all these shades of gray and figuring it out. Maybe that means it's time to just cue the music.
Perhaps.
Yeah, you just cue it and go, hey, I think that's it.
I'm kind of just taking it in today.
I think we kind of did it. So with that, maybe this is kind of part 2 of that previous episode, correct? The simple prayer today would be that the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, the Lord shine his face of favor upon you, and as he does, may you Photizo. May the eyes of your spirit, the eyes of your soul be captivated by wonder, and may you spiritually, supernaturally see.